This time, I want to talk about a couple of kinds of amnesia. And for our purposes, it's the same idea. Now, this is not the kind of amnesia from soap operas or TV where you forget your past, who you are, where you're from, etc. This is a kind of amnesia for future memories. So really it's a learning issue and a consciousness issue. For different reasons, you have transient global amnesia and then a state of anterograde amnesia that we often associate with a very famous patient, HM, who had his critical memory centers removed. Now, later, of course, I'll fill in all the details about exactly what was removed and why. But for our purposes, again, these are people that are in essence stuck in a loop because they can't make new memories. They can't record what just happened. So they can get stuck in a 30-second or so state of consciousness that resets and resets. Take a few minutes and take a listen to this Radiolab segment. The link will be in the description. I think the pertinent part starts at about 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Go ahead and listen to that and come back. So, one of the striking things is, of course, the consistency in what happens to our patient, the consistency of what she says, how she says it, the emotion, the inflection, the tone, the timing is remarkable. Yet, she has no real conscious, let's say, in the least, her consciousness is severely altered. But the same things keep being regenerated. The way I make sense of this is, of course, what's doing the generating is the brain. And the brain is the same. And given similar stimuli, and given the same or similar state that the brain is in, the same kinds of outputs are generated over and over and over. And the brain state is not apparently being updated, at least not in the same way that it is in a healthy brain. So, to recap, we've explored consciousness through 4 types of brain injury. Each one gives us a little bit of insight into what consciousness is, what it isn't, what parts of the brain may or may not be involved, which are necessary, if sufficient, if not sufficient. But partly, remember, the purpose of this segment of the class was to give you an insight into how behavioral neuroscientists often approach complicated questions. This issue of consciousness is very interesting, sometimes troubling, can cause angst, or sometimes it's just plain boring and you just have to take it for the class. But if you're intrigued by it, you're not alone. A lot of neuroscientists, psychologists are very, very intrigued by this phenomenon. And I often ponder what animals, what creatures, what living organisms, what non-living structures, if you're into that, have consciousness. Where does it stop? Where does it start? Is it all or none? Or is it sort of a linear kind of awakening? And if so, where are we on that spectrum? These are, and many other questions are fun to talk about, fun to think about, and I look forward to your thoughts and perspectives.